All right, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Good to see you out there. Caroline, Danielo, Joanna, fantastic. Good to have you here. Paul Trani, I'm going to dive into getting started in graphic design, as it says right over here, as you can see. So that's the plan. Really, it's all the fundamentals that I think even as a professional you will forget, and you just need to keep it in mind, right? So again, it's all about the fundamentals. This is the type of stuff that you learn in school, and you can take it with you to really any project. So that's the idea, regardless of the screen or any of that. But good to have you here. Siobhan, Valder, Heidi, Igor, Roman, Abraham, Anel, Holes. Fantastic. I'm so happy that you're here. Hopefully you enjoyed. Kathleen, thank you so much, kicking off the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge as well. But I'm going to dive into this because it's all about the fundamentals and just get you up and running fast. If you're joining me on YouTube, by the way, jump over to behance.net/live. That's where all that action is happening. Just a little FYI on what's happening this week. We have some fantastic people in. It's graphic design all week long, which is why I'm doing this Getting Started stream. Okay, so we do have Claudia from Print My Soul. Shameless self-promotion is what is happening there. Julia Masalska is fantastic. Second time in with Jasmine Whitaker. Whitney Anderson with Daniel Morimoto. So, yeah, I think it's all... let me check that. Yeah, so that's what's happening. So all this week, Tuesday to Thursday. Eric, what's up? So let's dive into this, if I could, and show you what I'm going to be working on. Eric's in the house. All right. Terrace, good to have you here as well. You can see my screen right here. So again, I've sort of just made up a product. Actually, not so made up. I'm going to tackle sort of the health and beauty industry, right? We know that's like a $500 billion a year industry. It's huge. And so that's why I'm going to work on like a health and beauty product, actually for men, kind of targeted more toward the male demographic. But this is how you'd start any project. Anel, you might know this. Oh, does anyone else get seasonal allergies? I do not. I've actually been stuffed up. I don't know if you can tell, but I've had like a cold all weekend. I got it. Don't you hate it when you start feeling sick on a Friday night? That's not good. So anyways, I'm actually feeling a little bit under the weather. But all I need is some good health and beauty products. And now, this is the brand. Again, this goes for anything. So we want to make sure that we're always kind of pointing toward the objective, which is, again, this is health and beauty for men, as you can see here, right? I would actually like to have a little bit of wiggle room right in here when I say for men, because there's a chance, and this happens sometimes, companies target maybe a certain demographic and then decide to branch out a couple of years later. So it's this thought of, maybe it will be for women as well, right? So making sure it's flexible while trying to be specific is a good way to go. So I know that happens, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Anytime. Oh, I do sound sick. Sorry, Jennifer. Hopefully I don't sound bad. But just like so stuffed up, and I feel terrible. I feel bad that you have to deal with it for now. So this is what you do. Whatever branding you're working on, what do? You go out there, you do your research, right? That's what I do. It's like men's beauty products. What's out there, right? Some people do this like at the beginning of a project. Some do it like maybe halfway through. It just kind of depends, because the one issue you have with doing this research is some of this stuff will get stuck in your head. Like, I really like this Jack Black brand. How much is this going to influence me? So it's just something you might need to watch out for. And let me just turn down my mic a touch. Yeah, all right, it's fantastic. So again, that's what I'm doing, my research, seeing actually kind of what looks good. I really like This looks nice and clean as well, but that's what I would do. I start grabbing these references, and I'm in Illustrator, and I just start dropping them off to the side, right? The big thing is I don't want to actually duplicate this as well. It is going to be natural. Anel, good question. So it is going to be natural. In fact, what I would actually recommend, if this is a brand new brand, do we call it, we wouldn't say, since it's for men initially, we wouldn't say Hawthorne Beauty Products. I would do Hawthorne Naturals is kind of where I'm going. Again, playing off that whole thought of just everything being natural and really for men and women, right? That is the goal. So Hawthorne Naturals. And I typically start out this way, you know, kind of outlining the product, doing my research for other brands, and then also getting a mood board, right? And this is what's happening with all these images over here. This is like the hipster look that I'm kind of going for. Guy with cool hats in a field. This melancholy guy, like I actually really like this face shape right here. That I might actually consider outlining. Okay, so this might really drive the design. Again, people just hanging out, just a cool place. So this is like the demographic we're after, and these are the mood boards. So, Acumen is one of your favorite fonts. Yes, Valder, Acumen is fantastic because, of course, it's a variable width font. Because it has so many. That's why I end up using it. It just has so many different options. And yes, that's why I like it. Oftentimes, if you are picking fonts, and that's kind of where I will start here, is I would probably go in here, and this is what I mean by a variable width font. Let me zoom in on this. You see right here, taking down the width of that second line. You can see how I'm doing there, or taking down the weight, and that's what I do, is I'd probably take down the weight, something like that. And again, I'm already kind of playing with the brand already. But we have our mood board. We've done our research. We have our name. Now we can get to designing. This is going to be fun. Hopefully everybody's having a beautiful Monday, and hopefully this Monday finds you happy and healthy. And again, I love what I do. Absolutely love design. And yeah, it's just going to be so much fun to play with. Again, there's many things you need to keep in mind when we're designing. Okay, so I'm going to start probably through the course of the next 45 minutes rattling off lots of tips and tricks. Okay, and you can see already it looks pretty good. So one thing you want to do, and I just start typing this up, by the way. I'm just going to say, start in black and white, right? So don't use color too soon, and that's pretty important because it's going to be distracting, right? Another thing that branding is and isn't, or logo creation, excuse me. A logo isn't picking a font or an image. That's not really what you do, right? You could start there, but it's definitely not going to end up there, right? So those are kind of like some two rules right off the bat. You know, I can start with this thicker font. I kind of like it. I want, thank you, Kevin. Good to have you here as well, my friend. I want this Hawthorne to, again, this is like, think just hipster, okay? Think sort of neutral hipster, cool coffee shop type of vibe. So I want this to be more classic than anything. Okay, so that's why I would jump in here. And probably not, even though it's very popular, I don't know if I will go with a sans serif font, right? And let me just space out these images. Move them off to the side. Just like most people's Illustrator documents probably look like this. Do most people's files? You know, Joanna, do you just have a mess of like images and everything around what you're working on? Because I know I always do. But right in here, I move that off there. again, starting here, this is actually not a bad place to begin. You know why this works? It's big and bold and it's honest, right? So that's what this sans serif does. It says I'm sturdy, right? But it also could be boring, right? So sturdy and all that stuff could be construed as boring. So you do got to kind of, how can you bring some life to it as well? I would say, since I want this to be a little more timeless and hipster, I might actually sort through my fonts. And this is new in Illustrator, the fact that I can sort based on classification. Okay, so right in here, I want to go more classic, so I'll go with this serif, sorting by serif, and I want it to be like a heavy weight. Let's try that. Boom, let's just try that. Oh, help me, that's not that good. Excuse me. All right, let's kind of dive into this again. Boom. I'm just rolling over these different fonts. This one is really good. Albiona, by the way. In terms of what I'm going for, slab serif is really cool. Yeah, so Abraham brings up a good point. His workspace is messy, but you usually don't have that much photography and imagery. That's true. I will sometimes, but eventually I'm going to get rid of these because these just kind of weigh down my file, okay? And when you're bringing in imagery, just to be mindful of whether it is embedded or if it's linked, right? Because that could, definitely mess you up later on, okay? And typically, like, I'm embedded, but I would actually remove them, like you're saying. So this is working out. Again, I'm going to move really fast, so just so you can be entertained, let's get rid of that. We know this is actually looking better. So again, grab this. Let's put that, like, right over there. This is pretty cool. I'm going to do something kind of interesting. Again, I'm going to take this. I would probably sort through more of these fonts as well, by the way. This slab serif, which is actually an option right in here. This Albiona is actually more of a slab serif, but I'm going to go ahead and filter this by slab serifs because I absolutely love slab serifs. They hold up well as well, like in terms of when you shrink them down. This is pretty cool. I like this. What I'm kind of checking out is like the sturdiness of this. This is just much more interesting. All right, so let's move on. Yeah, we're teaching everybody. We are teaching, so we're learning. So I'm thinking this is Hawthorne Naturals. How can I sort of add, do I do an H and an N? And can I try that? So I'm going to, outline this font. As we know, create outlines. All right, that gives me access to all of the Bezier points, all of the various points right in here, right? So I can take this, and do I cut this in a little bit more? Do I do something like that? I can add points to it. Hitting the plus sign will give me the add anchor point tool. Click on it, right? Hold on, you do have to click on the actual line, and then just go back over. You could hit A. My A key is going to give me the direct selection, right? And again, I'm just playing with this right now, but I'm trying to match that angle. Doing the same cut in like that. And taking a look at it. All right, so let's move on. I'm trying some different things, really, is what I'm doing. Okay, let's go a different direction. So basically what I'm doing here, by the way, just so you know, Asker, is I'm trying to, this is Hawthorne Naturals. I'm trying to add an N, right? I'm adding a lowercase n in there. So I'm trying to sort of like, build this N into the H is what I'm working on, right? And that might be a good way to go here as well. Let me undo this, zoom this, zoop, zoop. You ready for this? Taking this, we're going to outline it. By the way, I'm building all of the branding too. Are you Oh, Matthew, am I freestyling or have you already given it any thought? I've given it thought. but I haven't made it yet, just because I thought it'd be more exciting. Okay, good. Thank you, City. You're too kind. But again, I want to create this stuff live, by the way, okay? But I'm kind of taking you through my thought process. Like in general with this, again, start removing all of these points is what I would do, just like really fast, selecting all those, getting rid of them. You know, got rid of too many there. Getting rid of those, like that. What do? We take this, we move it on over there. From there, bringing that up to right about there, as you can see. Spacing is hugely important. Also notice how we have this line here. Let's go ahead. By the way, I know I am creating this live, so we'll just have varying results, but in general, yeah, logo design and brand creation is going to take much longer than an hour, of course. Right, but I think we'll get this to a good place, as I'm sure we will. Doing something kind of like that. Open to thoughts and suggestions. Building in an H and an N. So you see it? Is it kind of, Joanna, oh, thank you so much. Does that make sense? Kind of what I'm doing here. We have this H and this N, and you kind of can toggle between seeing the H and the N, right? It's kind of, this is like very, very interesting. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions here. So let's take this, bring that down a touch more. There we go. The closer I bring it, actually, let's try this. Do it right next to it. Another version. By the way, I'm just using a mouse, but I've discovered that I'll sometimes use my mouse and a trackpad, especially when I'm in Illustrator, because I can actually smoothly zoom in and out. I also do the same with XD as well. So yeah, so that's a good call, Eric. I was wondering if I took the serif off the N, if it will still read, but let's try it. And I think as a designer, it comes down to, you know, good design is like almost as good design. And first of all, don't quote me on this. I don't know who said this, but this is very true. Like, good design is as little design as possible. And what's meant by that is like, you don't want to throw a bunch of fluff and drop shadows and gradients and all sorts of crazy things when you're doing branding. It really needs to hold up. It needs to be really strong on its own in black and white, like what we're doing here, right? Yeah, we could add those drop shadows all day long. Thoughts. All right, so there we are. Okay, yeah, it kind of looks like a Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, so that's where we are. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into we're gonna go in an entirely different direction with this. You ready for this? Because we're gonna focus on naturals, right? So we're gonna be a little more free-flowing. So what if we do H? We want to be really more free-flowing and focus more on the naturals part of this, right? So yeah, we want it to look stable. Like this one, I'm thinking more hipster. This one, I actually want to go into more of the natural segment. So when I think of natural, I want something flowy, right? And probably like a script, to be honest with you. I would actually go for a script in this case and kind of go through and see what I have here. Right? Like this is nice. Right? Thank you, City. You're right. Less is more, right? It's not what you can add to it. It's like what you can take away from it. And that's why, darn it, I'm sorry who said that, but whoever said to take away this little part of the N, that's exactly right. Because I think it reads as an H and it reads as an N. In fact, we can, if this is kind of boring, do I shift this over just a touch, right? No, I don't. Let's continue on. Working through this, I'm going to use basically N pencil tool, right? And it's not about using a font. You can start with one, right? Just like I'm doing here. I have this font, right? And then it's going to be a matter, of course, creating outlines, modifying it. So at this point, I want to use the pencil, and I'm just going to kind of draw out kind of like that. Something swirly. Did I even draw anything? Hold on. Right. There's that other invisible line. But this is the line I kind of want to work with, right? So in Illustrator, I want to mimic the same thick and thinness. First thing I need to do is continue that line. So let's just kind of come in here and move this down a little bit. Actually, I'll move the whole thing down a touch. Grabbing this end, bringing it right up here. Okay, ooh. Oh yeah. All right, so in Illustrator, here's my raw line. I don't know, Bojana, good to have you here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this day might find you. Properties panel in Illustrator, love it, right? So I don't need to have all of these different panels open. I really just need this properties panel, because what do I want to do? I want to get to the stroke panel, click on that. Just clicking on that underline, as you may or may not know, will bring up that panel. Because what do I want to do? I want to add a rounded cap to it, right? So that's going to round the end, so it's appropriate right over here, right? Another thing I want to do, let's move this down a little bit, get that lined up. Varying the weight and the thickness. Another pro tip. Okay, so I just removed that point. Check this out. I'm going to have just the anchor point tool selected, as you can see. And I usually will manipulate these individual points. Like, yeah, you can manipulate those all day long with the anchor point tool. But what I'll typically do, rather than messing with these Bezier points, if I just roll over that line, I'm going to get the curvature tool. So hopefully you can see that. Let's zoom in on that. See that little curve right there? It says, hey, I'm the curvature tool. I don't have to worry about those two Bezier points. I could just go ahead and bend that down like that to get it lined up wherever I want. That's absolutely huge, especially personally when I do illustration. It helps out so much. So let's continue on. I'm going to kind of zoom in here, grabbing this, removing these points like so, and then bringing this up like that. Okay, so where I'm going to take this ultimately, Tara, thank you so much. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying this. I'm here to help and just trying to add some value to your life and just help you out is the goal, right? A lot of times when you draw a line, especially with the pencil tool, if I double click on the pencil, I have fidelity right in here. So accurate is almost saying like it's going to be horrible, right? Smooth is honestly where I keep it. Right, this is where I want it. It's going to mean probably the fewest points, and it's going to be nice and nice and friendly. And it's good to know Jay and Emil are getting a lot after. Oh, I absolutely love the curvature trick. On that note, again, since this is live, this is what I usually do. Check this out. If I'm using the pen, let's say I just need to create some waves or some curves or something. Listen, I'm going to do this real fast. Boom, 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 right? And I want these all to kind of flow one direction like it's a wave. Well, again, using the curvature tool, like basically I will add straight points, and then I'll come in with the curvature tool and I'll just start bending like that. Bending. And now I have more like a wave. So anytime I'm drawing hair or I need something more natural, that's how I'll do it, is I'll use the curvature tool by adding straight points initially, right? All right, so coming in here, I notice it's kind of rough right here. I could try to like simplify that, but you can also go to Object, Path, and sure enough, there's Simplify right here. Okay. This is going to help me out too. Simplify. Usually we do this with artwork, but you can do it with something as simple as a line. You want to preview it, right? And then you can adjust the precision, right? But look what it does right there. Like it's like I get all these different options for this curve by adjusting this simplify path, right? Like that, done. And sure enough, yes, look at that, 4 points. It's looking really good. Let's go beyond that really fast because I want to rush through this. I got to get into more parts of this. I'm going to use the width tool right over here. Right here, little line, thick and thin, width tool coming down here. And the trick is I want to make it kind of thick and thin like that font. I can kind of grab maybe this point right here, make it a little thicker there, coming down to the end here, making it a little thinner there, and just playing with obviously the width of this line in just a very subtle way, right? Even there, it's a little too much. You know, this thickness is a little too much. We'll take that down and you get the idea. Okay, so we're doing Hawthorne, right? We want this to be natural, so I thought I'd pick some a more natural take on the H, right? Going a different direction, and I want to add some fun leaves. Okay. Awesome. Yes, love the curvature tool. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's check this out. Let's make some just real simple leaves. Look what's happening. This is funny. That's funny that happened. When you use the width tool, you're actually changing the width. I basically made a new width profile is what has happened. Look at all these crazy width profiles I have in here, by the way. It's like, oh, boom, that's a fun one, right? That's kind of what's happening. So anyways, for what it's worth, I'm going to set it back to uniform. Okay. I have some other tips and tricks in here, but again, what am I going to make? I'm making a leaf. Right? So this is going to be kind of fun to do right in here. I just have a rectangle or square. I'm going to select just one corner, grabbing that, pulling that in like that. Grabbing this other corner right here, pulling that in like that. And now I have like a really nice, elegant leaf. So yeah, so now it might be a little, I'm going for natural. And that's the thing. I'm going for natural and neutral. That's kind of what I'm going for. Because like I said before, this is, and if you are just joining me, it's Paul Trani. Well, I'm basically doing a graphic design, getting started. This is primarily targeting men, but we want to be able to expand into potentially women. So it's kind of like what happened with Dove, right? What did happen with Dove right over here? Dove was very much geared toward women, and then they started making like men care. But this logo is very feminine, and obviously they didn't know as a company that they wanted to expand into, you know, a men's line. So that's why they ended up, oh, we'll just make it gray and we'll make it a sans serif font, right? And now it's for men, right? And I'm just trying to keep it neutral, I guess, right? So that's the goal. Neutral, natural. You get the idea. Zoop. Zoop. All right, check this out. This is what happens. Remember, I used, I basically used these control points to round the corners, right? If you shrink it down, I do need to keep in mind in preferences, if I go into general, I probably want to scale corners right here. That's what I want. I want to make sure that's turned on. Scaling corners down with the object, and you can scale strokes and effects in this case, right? That way that leaf doesn't get distorted whenever or however I like shrink it down. Anyway, let's move on. I would love to get your opinion. Maybe you can kind of vote on the one you like better, because I'm basically making two logos. And you could just tell me if you think one's horrible or not, right? So that's all I'm doing. Zoop. Something kind of like that. Allura's the font. All right, so that's what I'm going for, just something like that. If we wanted to make this look like maybe a little more masculine, and we can talk about, you know, masculine and feminine. It is okay. I'm trying to keep this neutral, but since this is hawthorn, I kind of do a play on that word thorn, right? So do I come in here and with the pen tool again? I'll show this. This is a perfect case for that trick. Let's just kind of come in here. Let's do, you know, are there little, you know, thorns in here? Let's undo that. Why is that first one so long? But do I add little thorns in? Bop, bop. That's right. It's just a nice little triangle. We learned this trick earlier when I showed it. I usually do shortcut keys, but right in here, I have the anchor point tool. Since everybody likes curvature, I could like use the curvature tool to zip, zip, like that. Let me just double click, cancel, cancel. Let me look. Okay, that's, anyways, so there's my little thorn. Do I think about just like having, I don't know, do we want it to be pokey? That's kind of the question I'm asking myself right now, and I'm not sure if I do. Again, do I just make it slight? I don't know. There we go, hawthorn. You notice how that little touch does make it look, okay, so Cecilia likes the thorn idea. Okay, into it. So maybe it is working. So yeah, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us as well. Just so you know, this is a getting started stream. We're getting started in graphic design. The goal is to make branding for a beauty product. Happens to be Hawthorne Naturals. It's health and beauty products for men. So we're talking men's face creams like moisturizers, hand creams, stuff like that. We're not going too masculine. We went through all of we're keeping in mind our mood boards, which are just basically all these images that kind of help drive the design. Started out, ended up with this one here, which is really bold, and then we have this one here, right? And we want to keep in mind just kind of like the rule of threes. We typically don't want to have an odd number, or excuse me, an even number of things. Even is considered almost like boring. Odd is just more interesting. So that is what is happening here. Just so you know, this is not part of the challenge. This is just for fun because I can. Well, it's here to help you for this week. Because this week is all about graphic design. That's right. Graphic design in Illustrator, InDesign, and that's what I have. Boom. Love it. It's graphic design week, just so you know. We can kind of review the schedule really fast. Just so you know, Claudie from Print My Soul, then we have Julia's going to be up, Julia Masalska, and then Whitney Anderson as well. So that's what's happening. Full week of graphic design, which is my favorite week, and as well as Photoshop, to be honest with you. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. This is cool. So again, just to recap, here's the two that we made. Zoop. Taking this one, bringing it down. I do think this one needs something more. It's just not working. Oh, you want me to remove that bump? I kind of like the bump though. I like it. I don't know. I just kind of like it, but I will do as you say. Let's remove that bump and see what happens. Right. Come in here. Checking out this. Zip. Right in there. Let's get rid of it. Just so we can see what happens. All right. What about a leaf? Okay, you got it. Okay, so we could add thorns to this part as well. I'm kind of trying not to like overdo it with the thorns. Maybe right over here, by the way, let's just do this. Let's just grab this leaf. Maybe this is along the lines of what people are talking about. You know, do I carry the leaf over into like this side? And this is all part of graphic design. What is this actually doing? What is this doing for the design? Is this working? Is it not working? Is it better? What's the meaning of these different leaves? And you know, we could start to applying meaning to this stuff. Like, so if the brand's all about, oops, sorry. I'm gonna change this font. Wait for it. This is gonna be very important what I say next. I mean, I think it's all very important. So let's go take a look at this. Let's do this. This is how you get paid right here, by the way, I think. So this could be about, we want to do this for your health. Maybe it's body. Maybe it's body, face, hair. Like, those are sort of the three main areas the brand might decide to focus on. I would then maybe start associating each leaf with a certain part. Like, this means body, this means, you know, face, this is hair, and that's something else, right? So yeah. I agree with you. I think the city, by the way, I don't know if this little leaf is doing anything for it, but what you want to do when you're doing any sort of branding is just apply meaning to things, like do things for a purpose, right? So why are we doing this? Well, we wanted to add a little, we're making this look natural. So we're adding these natural elements. That's what we're doing, right? But if these had more meaning, that's great. Or if we can divide this up amongst, you know, the golden mean, that's another way to determine if this, you know, swirl is in the right place. So yes, let's appreciate those chill vibes in the background. So anyways, so that's what I would do. Let's take a look at this. Let's see how this holds up. Let's get rid of this one. I think we have our two winners right here, right? These two. This second one isn't very strong. I'd probably go in and work on this one a little more. In fact, I'd probably draw out a circle. And do we make this a little more bold? That's what I do with this one. Like, let's make this look like a big, bold, awesome stamp. Right? Right. Already this is more interesting. This is actually a little thick. But that's what I do with the second one, something kind of like that. All right. I think, actually, you tell me. I would love to take a vote between Keitra, Mikhail, Jennifer, Lindsay Palmer in the house. Oh, make the top of that H a stroke. Maybe. Good suggestions. Right now, I'm going to kind of shift gears. These are the two. Which ones do you guys like? Left or right? Which logo do you like? Again, this is Hawthorne Beauty Products. Let me make sure scale strokes and effects is on. Hawthorne is the brand. Which one do you like? Left or right? Oh, people like the left one. Well, now we have right. I'm basically going to make an executive decision coming in here, just so you know. Okay. Okay, so a good way to think about this is, like, would you know what this is for just by looking at the logo? Like, do you know that it's like health and beauty for men, like men's health and beauty products? Are you getting that sense from either one, right? So I think we're all split. Okay, fine. You know what we're going to do now, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this. I kind of like that. I'm really kind of drawn to this one. I think this one's like really cool. So that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of like this one. But this is what we would need to do with these logos. Like, super important. Like, and again, this goes down to all the little rules that I'm keeping right over here. Right over here. Does it look good, or does it hold up? Does it hold up super small? So if I shrink it down, right? If I shrink this down like I'm doing now, shrinking it down, which one holds up, right? Definitely this one on the left holds up. This one on the right does kind of as well. But think about compared to next to other brands. So I have Dove right over here. I have this Jack Black JB. How does it hold up next to these brands' logos? So if we had to put them all in a footer, which logo is going to stand out the most, right? And that's why I think this one's stronger. You shrink these down, it's going to tell you if a logo is going to hold up or not. And plus, you know what? You're not going to be able to print it very small. You're not going to be able to print this one very small, I don't think. But these are the two we're going to go with. And yes, you're right. Rob, Generate in the house, Robzilla. That's why we're keeping these two, right? I'm going to take this one. I'm going to drag it into my library. I'm going to identify some colors here in a second as well. But let's just drop this in here. And we'll have that there. Let's move that over. Let's get rid of that one that I was working on earlier. So I did have some ideas. Logo. We'll go logo. Oops. This is logo left. And then we'll have logo right. All right, cool. Next thing I'd want to do is I'd want to sort of pick a palette as well. So this is all part of branding, right? Being aware what's out there, what's going to look the most natural. So I can go to color.adobe.com. Super easy, just easy to work with. This might be a good way. I can explore popular colors and themes. I can actually search. I can say natural. I bet you anything there's something called natural out there. If I could spell it right. Right, so just exploring different color palettes, right? That's kind of what we have. I'm really into this one right over here. See it right here. I can say, let's appreciate it. Let's save it. We'll call it natural, and we're going to save it to our beauty folder like that, okay? It's not bad. I'm going to play with that a little more. I don't really have enough time to get into everything when it comes to color, right? But I'm just kind of showing you in general what sort of like sort of a natural color palette would look like just by doing a search. That's the quickest thing you can do because I don't have time to get into that too much. I am showing you what you can do as I sync it, by the way. What happens? Oh, it comes right in here. Thank you very much. Here it is, those different color palettes, right? I apologize, sorry. Why can't thorns encircle the scripted H? Great idea, India. Yeah, all sorts of ideas. Like, if we wanted this to be natural, could this look like a leaf instead of a circle, right? Do we expand it out that way, right? So many ideas, but we're gonna get this on an actual product. So I'm gonna shift gears, I'm gonna jump over. I'm gonna take a look at this. What does this look like in some sort of ad that we have? So this is an ad in a salon, right, or a barber shop. And I would just kind of see how this is applied in here, right? So I'm gonna grab this logo, scale it up because I made it super small. And there's that H. This is going to be really fun. I think this is pretty awesome. This is a cool mark in general. Okay, so there it is on a poster. I'd probably get a tagline in there too. All natural all the time. But I want to actually get this on a product, and that's where I'm heading next. So yeah, you can just drag it right in the library. Super easy, Larry. Yeah, there's more you can do there. I have about 10 minutes. Just so you know, it's Graphic Design Week, and thank you so much for joining me. What do I have here? Oh, Adobe Dimension. Adobe Dimension right here allows you to create those mockups, right? I wonder if I'm listed in here anywhere. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. But check this out. So Adobe Dimension, I get it. There's already a file here. I'll just, maybe turn that off. But initially, what you can do with Adobe Dimension is it allows you to create comps, right? Or products, seeing how this looks on a product. When you first launch it, you're actually given all these different awesome categories off to the side. Like, check this out. All these starter assets. So that's all I did. I did this to save time initially, but I can just come in here and I can say bottle. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this bottle, dropping it in. As I drop it in, I drop it right on this plane right here. You have these tools for moving and you have these tools for rotating. So I can rotate around it, but as you can see, I positioned it right on that counter right there. Okay, for the environment, notice how I have this image selected as the background, but I could drop anything in here if I want as I take a look. And really, I've been adding to that same library. Check it out. Here's all these images. I'm dropping them in. You could see it does the obvious, right? So you can drop any image in here like I'm doing right now. I like this one, kind of like this image right here. And I like this one actually. I kind of like what do you think? Now I'm back and forth. But the key thing is I could have this match any sort of plane that I want. Notice how the environment, when I have that selected, I want to make sure that same image is reflected in the environment. So I can drop that image, do you see that, from that point, and I can drop it right on that environment light. Isn't that metallic default texture, but it's actually the surroundings, right? It's actually that background image, right? So I can crank that up if I want to. Also, I can have sunlight as well. So I turn on sunlight, and notice, watch this, ready? You can see the intensity of it. So if I really want something to pop, I can do that, but also the direction that light's coming from as well. But at this point, you can see, I'll zoom in on this. I'm going to make this a little larger so we can all see it. And I can take that logo and drop it right on that bottle. Yeah, it can do more than mockups, exactly right, Carol Pearl. It can do a lot of things. It's typically what you do is you find OBJs, you find 3D models, and again, you can search in here, you can go out to Adobe Stock, and that's what I did as well. Go out to Adobe Stock, do a search on 3D assets, like I did, and then you can sync this asset to my folder as well, and then start to make really anything. But yeah, you get the idea. All right, so we have this H. We need to do more with it. This image, I dropped it on there. Check it out. Using this selection tool, these tools up at the top, within these top tools before this line, this is all object oriented stuff. So when you have the object selected, these things are more for the environment, moving around whatever environment you have. So from here, I can shrink this down. I'm just holding down the shift key and I can shrink it down. I'm going to do you one better. Are you ready for this? This is so fun. Yes, Steve Watts, I encourage you to actually just go into the starter assets. Use all this stuff. Look at all this stuff. Like, it's amazing, right? But I'm going to dive into this right now. I'm going to change this. I'm going to take this to the next level, right? Selecting this, the bottle right here. I can go in here and just hide the models, and I'm going to go into the materials right in here. So we have a plastic here, right? Like that. And then we have a glossy plastic that I can add, right? We can have this look. This could be more of a metallic. What if we want this to be metallic like that? Or more of a galvanized look, as you can see. So I'd probably pick what's appropriate for this product. Something like that. Brushed metal looks really nice. And then grabbing. And dropping that in, okay? Okay, so this, there it is. All right. Check this out. This is a pro tip. Salesman of the year. Now you can see yourself in it. That's hilarious. The metallic. So check this out. Here's the base color. Or it looks like it's actually a material. That's why it has that sort of grayness. I can do anything I want with this, or I can actually change it to an actual color. So I can make my own materials. I really like something like this. I wanted to take this to the next level. I wanted to drop in this logo onto this metallic. You ready for this? I'm gonna see how this looks. Okay, I'm gonna turn, let me just, can I just delete this? Let's take that down, maybe. Check this out, look at this. So I have that big H being printed all the way around it. In fact, let's have it repeat. There's a repeated pattern is what I'm actually putting on that bottle. But I'm just pointing this out because you can actually have something reflect or not reflect in there, which is just kind of cool. But I'm gonna go back. I think this works pretty well, what I have here. Let's take the opacity back up. There it is, shrinking it down, you get the idea, and we can see that branding. Let's zoom out. We're still kind of deciding on these two logos. So I will go back to my starter assets. All I did is search for bottle, right? And there it is, dropping this one in right next to it. Yeah, now the repeated pattern didn't work, but I do like it as like a water, I wanted it like as a watermark. Okay, for the second one, bottle 2, we could see it. Clearing that out, grabbing a material. Oh, that's glossy paper is what that is. But let's go ahead and add this plastic. Let's make the base color white and then grab our other logo as well. All right. Grabbing this, dropping it on here. And we can see how that one looks. Okay, so I'm actually getting a sense that I'm getting a sense, especially as I start to see it on the product itself. This is just awesome. By the way, just being able to do this. I'm leaning toward this one right here on the left-hand side. But this is an awesome way just to get an idea of how the logo will look on the product itself. So when you do present this to a client, you're not only presenting them, you know, with the standard, the graphics, not only in black and white, probably in color at some point, but also here's how it would look on the actual product. Okay? As I slap that in your face. I'm sorry. Stop moving. There we go. Right? That's the idea. And this is what I'd present to the client. From here, I can go ahead and render that out. And again, just hit render. I can render it out as a PSD and play with it some more. But I think I covered a lot of what you can do when it comes to branding in general and kind of how I'd attack branding. Really, it's all about how it's going to hold up in many different situations. Again, on posters, I'm sorry I didn't spend much time on this, but I would probably kind of come in here and do a color burn. Look at that. Boom. Again, this bolder logo is holding up in all these different situations and works out pretty well. But yeah, city both look good. Wow. Is there an option to model objects? There currently is not an option to model products. There's plenty of other ones out there. We have Cinema 4D and all sorts of modeling ones. Technically, you could use Photoshop if you want to. But that's one thing it doesn't do. It's like a compositing tool for 3D is the idea. So, All right. Oh, look at you. Carol Pearl just made some Adobe vitamins using Photoshop, Illustrator, Dimension. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone. I'm winding down on my time here, heading down into the last couple minutes. So, yeah, I'd like to say just make sure you moisturize every day, okay? Drink lots of water. As you know, call your mom. Be nice to one another, because everybody's going through something, huh? And so, yes. Appreciate you guys. Feel free, I'll be live actually on the Illustrator page later today, just so you know, the Illustrator Facebook page. And that's about it. Awesome. Yeah, Paul Alvarez, like a 3D week would be fun, or something like that would be cool. So, and by the way, don't forget about our awesome schedule that we have going on this week with Claudie and Julia and Whitney. All-female lineup. It's going to be fantastic. And if you guys have questions, please hit me up on Instagram, Twitter. On Twitter, it's at Paul Trani. Instagram's at PTRANI. But I want to be respectful of your time. And you got it. More 3D. Interesting. A lot of interest there. That's good to see. But thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you take your vitamins as well, since we're talking about all this. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. And we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you.